This is June 19th, Juneteenth, 2023, and I'm Marnie Watson, and I'm here with Sharon and Xavier and Mia, and we're talking about their farming experience. So the first question is, and I know there's sort of a family story that we're looking at here. Sharon started with Xavier, and then went to Mia, and then Sharon became involved. Tell me the story of how you all, as a family, became gardeners or farmers, whatever that means to you.
2017, my daughter had been working with Springfield Community Garden for a while. She had found one on Pacific. We would go and help her over there. And I was excited once I started seeing all the vegetables grow. Just by coincidence, my son ran into Susan, that was with Springfield Community Garden, right? Stephanie. It was
Stephanie.
Yes, with Stephanie. And we kind of met Stephanie, and it was just weird how everything just all mixed up. Her working with Pacific, him meeting Stephanie. They had a car accident.
That's how you met Stephanie?
Yeah. You met Stephanie.
You literally ran into her.
Yeah.
Or she ran into
you. In the back of her car. So.
That's amazing.
And a little bit later, Jamil introduced me to Miley. There was a couple of gardens that was out there that needed someone to be a garden leader at. So we went around to 3 of them. I had a choice of Mercy, West Side Garden, and I think the other one was Cox. And I picked West Side. No one was there. It was pretty much abandoned and they wanted to close it. So I took the role of being a leader there. And I've been there for 4 years.
For 4 years. And before that, were any of you involved in farming or gardening? Did you have a family history of it?
Yes. My family is from Midtown, Missouri, which is the Boot Hill. Every summer, I used to go down there to visit my grandmother. My grandmother had 4 gardens. And as a child, I was able to help her. I was excited when I first seen her get a potato from out of the ground. And she also had pecans, a lot of pecans and peach trees. And she was really popular down there. She did a lot of canning for people. She had chicken coops, pretty much. Gooses, rabbits. Farming went on a whole lot down there. In the summertime, I used to go and we used to get on the truck like 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the fields. We did cotton, and that's the way I used to make my school clothes during the summertime. And we got up early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we would be out there until 5 o'clock that evening.
And so that money that you earned paid for your school clothes?
Paid for my summer clothes, my school clothes.
What was your grandmother's name?
Essie Taylor.
Essie Taylor.
Yes.
How old were you when you started working?
I was 12.
12.
I was 12 when I first started, but I had to be 15 to actually get money. So I started pretty much when I was 15 years old to be able to go out to the fields.
Okay, so you have kind of a deep family history.
Oh, yes. And she used to have me put on my hat and get my garden hoe, and the truck used to go around and pick up everyone. So we'd be on the back of the truck, and all those fields, those farm fields, would just go a long way. And if you got up early, and that was my thing, to get up early and be the first one on the truck, because I got to carry the water around for everyone. So I was the water girl.
Very smart.
Yes. And then sometimes I would see the other girls out there and they had the hoe and some of their hands would be blistered. And so I would give them the water and let them carry the water and then I would start chopping cotton. Yeah. So or we had beans. It depends on what was going on that day. So I shared.
And what happened with that family farm? Is it still there?
Well, I don't know if it was a depression or it was, I want to say Urban League came through there that town changed a lot. Springfield County is one of the poorest towns there is, and a lot of changing happened for Crothersville and Haytime, Missouri. Everything was there in the square. They had, I think, two movie theaters, one store, one filling station, and everything happened in that square. And then when they came through there, a lot of things got knocked down. And so there's a group of people from Hayti Heights, which is in Hayti, Missouri, got together. I want to say about 8 of them got together, and they would have meetings at the church. And when they got all that together, I guess they had got a grant, and they started rebuilding everything. Because I can remember being a child, there was no sidewalks. It was all rocks. Everything was rocks. I learned how to drive down there on rocks. It was a small cemetery there. They had a uptown park where I used to be excited to go, and then they had another park. So Hayton Heights was really much where the black people were.
Okay.
The uptown park was where the white people were. Mm-hmm. So it was different cemeteries. Right. Small cemetery, which where my mom laid now. And then the other cemetery that was up there where the swing, the park, and everything was up there. So when they got the grant, they started building, they started making sidewalks, and they started putting in play area where we can have, because before then we just had, it was the cemetery, and then you could see the school. If you could play on the school program, playground, then you had an area to play. Other than that, we didn't have an area to play. Yes, but it was a lot of gardening going at that time down there. You pretty much knew what you were going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because my grandma raised chickens. So in the morning it was basically chicken, and the biscuits was called hog head biscuits and rice. And then in the afternoon, my grandma used to go outside in the backyard, and she'll say, "Mushy break." She used to call me Mushy break. Go out there and grab that chicken. And I used to be like, okay. Go get the chicken. And my grandma used to get the chicken and wring his neck. And then we had to pluck the chicken, and she used to prepare it. And that's what we had for dinner. That's so amazing. I pretty much knew if it wasn't a rabbit, I had a favorite rabbit. She didn't touch it for some years, but we ended up eating that rabbit. Yeah, it was exciting. It was different. Yeah. Because I lived in St. Louis, Missouri. So country is I love. So my mom used to let me go every summer. So it was exciting to go to the country and to be able to work in the garden and to be able to be with my grandma. And she taught me different garden skills. Yeah. She taught me how to do a lot of gardening. She taught me really survival. You know, it was different than living in a city and to actually know where your food comes from.
Right, that you have control over your own life, right? Yes. You have control over what you're eating and how you're growing it and what you're feeding your family with.
And they knew a lot. They had a lot of knowledge of that. And living in the city, you didn't, pretty much.
It sounds like it was all kind of hand work, like with hose. And were there any machines that they used in the farm? Or?
No. Pretty much everything was done by hands and hoes, and it was a lot of work. And my grandma never used a machine. No.
It was all just hand.
Yeah, it was hands-on.
So the training that you got was really starting from age 12, every summer working on your grandma's farm.
Working on my grandma's farm.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And then you?
So I became a farmer, I guess, because of my brother's accident. And his passion for gardening and farming, just wanting to be involved in that. And actually, let me rewind. I was moving my house from south side of Springfield. And so I was coming over to the north side to go from an apartment to a house. And when I got into my community and got a little bit settled in, I think I was only there for about 2 weeks. And I started walking around the neighborhood, and I just was not excited about it, my neighborhood. So I'm walking around, and I'm like, okay, this neighbor, that neighbor, this neighbor, and then I see this piece of land that looks like it was a garden, but it was real messed up. I was in my head, I was like, if this is a garden or even a community garden, I know they're not feeding this to my people, and I want to do something about it. And so,
so you were really disappointed.
I was very disappointed, or at least I was curious, mostly because I didn't know who that land belonged to or why. I knocked on some doors around the neighborhood to ask, like, does this belong to you or does this belong to you? They're all like, no. They didn't know who it belonged to or who was running. So I just took it upon myself to say, okay, well, I got something to do. So I took $1,500 and invested into that plot of land. And by myself, me and my children were, one was 1 at the time, or a little under, and the other one was, I think success was 5.
Yeah,
5 years old. They're now 10 and 6. But 10 and 6 and 2, yeah. So I took my babies and we got into that garden. They played in the dirt while I tore stuff up. And people would come outside and say, "Who is that crazy lady?" They even stopped and honk, like, "What are you doing over there? Are you, do you belong over there?" And I didn't care. I had to go. And so I tore everything up until I can see fresh soil, and then I, dug, and this is all manual. I went to Walmart and on Amazon and found the best seeds I could. I literally researched and was finding non-GMO seeds specifically. And in my mind, as my mom tells the story, during that time, I was always thinking about my grandmother, Essie. I don't know how old I was. Maybe she can tell you. I think I was about maybe 5 or 4 when I met her.
4.
Because I only had, I think, what time did she die?
1998.
1998. 1998. So I had until I was about 10 years old with her, to know her. So yes. I didn't have very long to be in her presence. But I remember all the time going out there and being so excited to be out in the country. And my favorite thing was, and I will never forget it, taking the peach out of the tree and just eating it. It was so juicy. It was just like the best peach. I've never tasted a peach like that in my life ever again. Literally, to this day. Like, that was the one. I don't know if that was just one peach one day or what.
Magical
and I
peach.
was actually
5 trees.
When I was younger, because of that peach that I was able to just grab those peaches. She's like, "Yeah, baby, go get you one." And we go outside and get us a peach and eat it. And then when I was younger, I was really attached. One of my favorite movies was James and the Giant Peach. And it just followed me. So I had a goal in there to rebuild this tree. But we started having my brother, he was going through some things, just coming out of prison, really needing something to kind of settle his stress and get him something to do or find some type of direction. And so because of him, I created my organization, United Community Change. And I was dedicated to be in a space or put my brother in a position to help himself by healing himself through gardening. And that was the goal with United Community Change. And I came up with this idea that, our people need something. We need to be able to feed ourselves. We need to be able to come together as a community. We need people to be able to find jobs and entrepreneurship without hardship. And so that's what United Community Change is about, really, taking an individual, especially a minority individual, and helping them in every way of their life. And the first part is being able to feed yourself, and then being able to house yourself, and then being able to be connected to the community. So I started with my brother. Like, he was my experiment, I guess. It was my research personally for my organization. And so I got all of that. I did all of that by myself over there when I started. And then I would bring my brother in, like, hey, get over here, look what I'm doing. And he got excited, you know, his whole way of viewing life. You know, he was in the streets kind of, with the girls kind of, you know. But then he started to get folk. He was just like, hey, I kind of like that. He started coming over more and more, you know. And we were still utilizing stolen land that I stole, that I didn't really know who it belonged to. But it didn't matter. Nobody bothered us. And then my first
Well,
time,
Stephanie made that.
no, Stephanie, I did not know Stephanie. I did not know Miley.
This was all on your own.
It was all on my own, probably for a couple of years before I even met them.
And that money that you put into it, that was out of your own pocket.
That was
also.
out of my own pocket. I just did what I felt like I needed to do to get the property to where it needs to be, to where I felt like it needs to be. Then my brother came to me one day, and anxious. He was just like, Jamia, I gotta tell, Jamia is how you pronounce Jamil in my mom's tone. That's what she calls me, Jamia. That's where Mia come from. So he's like, Jamia, I gotta tell you, I don't know what to do. He was just under a lot of pressure because, I mean, he got a felony. He's talking to his parole officer. He ain't got no money. He ain't have no job. We're trying to do this thing in the garden, but it's not making any of us money. I'm on housing. So he's like, I don't know what to do. I just hit this white lady. And pretty bad. And I'm just like, calm down. We're like, what happened? Let's just go talk it out. We'll meet with the lady. So we finally met with her. I think she told us to meet her here at Midtown Garden. And so we met her in the parking lot. She invited us, and and to have a conversation about the accident. And so while we were trying to figure out the situation with the car, then we started asking her more questions about herself. And she was telling us that she was a volunteer for Springfield Community Gardens. We were like, oh, well, we have a garden. What's that program about? And she started telling us, oh, well, we have this garden, that garden, that garden. And then she mentions Pacific Garden. I said, what? Hold on, wait. No, that's so y'all on that land? She's like, yeah, and we haven't had a leader over there for long. That's how it started. We haven't had a leader over there for a while, but yeah, we've been trying to do stuff over there. Are you interested? I said, am I interested? I'm already doing stuff on that land. And then she was like, yeah, they get like $500 a month to the garden. I said, what? No way. I said, we can use it. Like, we've been doing this without help this whole time. We could have had a little bit of help. So she was like, well, let me introduce you to my, I'll have to get you connected to mine. Do you want to be a leader? I said, you might as well sign this up. I mean, I'm already there.
You're already doing all of it on your own.
I'm already there. So,
But what got us
so
there was...
before that, I was serving, like, I would have my crops, and then I would give those crops to the neighbors, so like across the street. So I had discovered, this is my first time planting or doing anything, but it just came natural to me. I grew watermelon, carrots, kale, sunflowers, peppers. I grew all on the okra. We grew some garlic. I just did everything because I wanted to experiment and I wanted to grow food. And so the neighbors across the street had the abundance of all all of my stuff. And there was another guy who was a felon as well. He never left the porch for like 2 years that he was here. He never talked to anyone. And his name is Jay. He go by Jay. And I approached him with my vegetable crops, and I was just like, hey, there's some other neighbors in the neighborhood there at night, you you should get to know them. And it just started to really bring people together and just notice, about that garden. But then after I did meet Stephanie, then she was able to get us connected and plug us in as leader, or plug me as in a garden leader over at Pacific over there. And then I told them all that I'd done, and then they did refund me and reimburse me.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you that. Did you get that $1,500
Yes, I
back?
did. I was a real organizational, so I had all my receipts to prove what I put in, all the stuff that I purchased for the garden, and they reimbursed me. And so I was so excited about that. So I could
I'm so glad about that.
Yeah, I used that money to get even more stuff. So after that, so we're doing the garden thing over there, and I would be there all the time, all from day and night, sweating. My babies,
Pregnant.
my mama
No,
was
you
pregnant.
pregnant.
No, not yet. I wasn't pregnant. I came about 2 years after with Supreme, but with Superior and my daughter, we would be there 9 days, and then I just loved the peace it brought me. So I thought about my mom and her. She dealt with carpal tunnel and fibromyalgia and some things that she can't do, physically. But then also, she really wasn't getting out and having like a hobby. She was working, and I was just like, "Mom, you need to be out here." And we had to do a little bit of convincing. She was like, "I know what that's about. I did it when I was young. That's hard work."
I had
ain't
surgery.
Yeah.
And I told you once I got better that I would come out.
And so, but then then she was just like, "Okay, I'm ready." When she got ready, we started, like she said, canvassing the different gardens, trying to find the best one. And ultimately, it became the one where she lived over on the west side behind the fireplace. And so once we got established there as a family, we all pitched in to kind of get it started. My mom did a lot of that work, pulling out the weeds. And
that was another one that was abandoned.
Yeah,
the garden leader that was there, I guess she was sick. And when we got there, I didn't know where Johnny Grass was. It was so much Johnny Grass that was up really high, and it was behind the fire station. So, so when I met Miley, and she introduced me to that garden, and I picked it. I picked there. So I waited about 2 weeks before I started. So I want to bag up a little bit, and it goes back to Xavier. It goes back to him and Stephanie. So the thing with really me meeting Springfield Community Garden was through Stephanie and my son. Him having an accident, and Stephanie really didn't know him, but she wanted to see if she can trust him to fix her car. Mm-hmm. So he told me about it. He was gone for a while, and he told me about it. He said, "Mom, I really need to get this lady car fixed because I had an accident." So he hooked me up with Stephanie, and me and Stephanie would talk on the phone. I got her car fixed, and she was like, "Well, they were young at the time. Well, are those boys gonna fix the car?" And I said, "Sure they are." So he would call me and make sure that I got the part for her car for it to get fixed. But both of them was young out there trying to put that front on that car. So that's how I got to meet Stephanie.
And then I met Miley over the first time that we actually met Miley. Me and Miley set up a meeting as founders because she wanted to understand like what the United Community Change organization was doing, and so we got to meet over at Pacific and start sharing with each other like our visions for gardening and farming, and how can we partner together to make this better in our communities. And then after meeting Miley, then they also got to meet Miley, like my mom. They also got to meet Miley as well.
So Xavier sounds like he was kind of a really important
He
part
was
in
a
all
rock.
of this.
He was
Everything sort of centers around
Xavier, yeah.
And he haven't stopped since.
Yeah.
haven't stopped. We've seen a whole lot of changes since we've been working with Springfield Community Garden. Started off with the small beds, and I think they're 4 inches now. We have the brand new beds, and I remember my first thing I grew in the West Side Garden.
What was that?
Because when I got there, it was tomatoes and everything that was growing all over the place. And then my son got it clean, and I said, well, let's do some bell peppers. We did bell peppers. We didn't even know how to grow bell peppers. And when those bell peppers came out, they had like root rot on it. At the time, I didn't know what the black spots was.
Okay.
So we did some research. He would always look and say, Mom, and look it up and tell me, well, Mom, you need to do this, or you need to do that. So we back and forth and figure out who's going to figure it out first. So he said, well, he would tell me what I need to do. And then I'm like, no, I need to look it up, so I'll look it up. And then, oh, it's just like you told me. But when that bell pepper grew, it was so green. It smelled so good. So it was really easy. So I got really excited. And so that's what made me want to keep growing. And I love giving people stuff. So I had the fire department there. It's Isabel House over here. And growing the produce and giving it to someone, that's what really makes me feel good.
It's really satisfying.
And yeah, satisfying, and being there and the community coming together and meeting new people, new faces. And the work is no problem. When I'm in the garden, I don't care if it's 100 degrees. I don't
and we
feel
do
the heat.
manual still, so we're
We
still
do manual.
practicing manual labor.
All
So
bad.
yeah, actually I was in the garden over at the west side starting a new bed, and we had a visitor come over, and he was like, there's a machine. He was trying to get the machine. By the time he got the machine, I was done with my bed.
Yeah, she was
like,
done with a whole field.
It was a big old plot of land. But yeah, manual was better, For me, I like to touch the soil and just be a part of the earth. And there's no problem. I can work all day manual labor because it's just stress free,
It's
And
really
what's going on
therapeutic,
now
right?
is, COVID is, COVID hit us hard. And a lot of things in the store was high. So I was glad to have Springfield Community Garden, learning how to do the vegetables and being able to not have to go to the store and go to the garden and it's fresh. It's just so different. You can taste the food different in the garden. So that made me feel sorry for the community.
Right.
I want more people to learn how to do garden. And and if you think about it, I look at my family and I got 9 grandkids there in their garden helping. You teaching the kids how to, to buy groceries from a garden. It's just basically groceries from a garden. You don't have to go to the store. It's a survival. So I want the community, it just makes me want everybody to learn how to grow their groceries. So,
Xavier, how did you become a farmer and training?
Well, I had 2 great grandmas who showed me how to grow different stuff. So in St. Louis, I had a grandma who had peach trees, apple trees.
which is my mom, Georgia Jones.
Yeah. And then I had my other grandma in St. Louis who had peach trees, and she made pies and stuff out of her stuff. So they had me in the garden all the time. Yeah, they had the garden all the time. Every time I went to my grandma's house, I got to go out there and mess with the garden.
It's a rock garden.
Yeah, I ain't had nothing to do. So it had me excited. Every time I came to the house, they had me gardening.
Also, Georgia May, which is my mom's mom, she always had taken us to the flea market. What's it called? The market, or what is it?
Marketplace.
The marketplace. It's kind of like outside, and you go and sell your stuff. Anyway,
St. Charles Flea Market.
Watermelon. She always had watermelon, big watermelon. That's how I started growing watermelons over there too. But she did that all the time. So we were always a part of some type of garden or something. But finish what you said.
So I did that in St. Louis, and then when we went to Carruthersville, And every time my grandma showed me how to grow watermelons, and we'll go sell them. So I got to do that a while, and so I knew how to do that too. So when we went back to St. Louis, I know how to do the peach trees and how they form and everything, but I never had my own. So it's just like the process of doing it when I went to my grandma's house. So whenever we came here, and I wanted to do it, but I never had no chance to because we didn't own nothing. So I was just more determined to do it again, but never got the chance. So got older, whatever, went to school, had a job, had kids, and then I ended up going to jail. And when I got out of jail, then I started having a lot of issues with trying to get a job and all that. Then shortly after that, I got shot 7 times, and it was just down the street from here.
Oh my goodness.
Play Street.
Actually, on the street that I live.
That's
Yes.
the reason why she had a problem in the area. He got shot 7 times
So I moved. It's just all kind of goes together.
getting
So
in his car.
he got shot those 7 times at a party. Unknown person. They never been caught. That case still exists. And we almost lost our brother. But then, unfortunately, somehow I didn't connect the streets, and I ended up moving to the street that got him in this
3
situation.
houses away.
So, so that was kind of crazy. That was crazy. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I got shot or whatever. I had to go to rehabilitation and all that. So it was real hard for me to even want to work. So my I guess I didn't know what to do. So I got on drugs or whatever, and I started helping my friends out in the community, and I was helping him move a truck, and that's when I smacked into the back of Stephanie because it had no brakes on the truck. So we couldn't stop, and I hit the lady, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if she's all right."
Yeah.
And
You couldn't have hit a nicer person.
Oh no!
It was a blessing.
It was a blessing.
And when I hit her, I'm like, "Oh, what do you want me to do? Do I need to pay now, pay later? Like, I don't have the money, but as soon as I get the money, I can pay you." And I ended up going to rehab, and that's why I told my mom to make sure that she got taken care of, and she did. And when I got out, she was telling me more about the garden and how to contact
Miley.
Miley. So I ended up calling Miley, and that's when I told my sister about what I discovered, and she's like, "What? What do you mean?"
A garden.
All right, out this garden.
I was definitely territorial over that space.
And it was just wow how everything connected
That is
from
amazing.
our family going through. I mean, we went through a lot, and it was.
So I can say honestly,
He
if
got
not
shot.
for, regardless of that space being abandoned or whatever it was, but if not for it existing, we can't even have the opportunity to even imagine ourselves doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
So, thankful to Springfield Community Gardens for just having it there for us to explore, and just like, hey, what's this? We can do some stuff.
So it's like a bad thing came out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
And it was all connected.
It's like a movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie. Please don't produce it. We're gonna work on that. No, it's just reach us, okay?
Yeah.
No, but okay. So what next? What came next? So we started working.
Yeah, so we started working at the Pacific Garden, and as we got to know Miley, she was telling us about the internship and the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And I was excited about doing both. So me and Jamil went to the internship, and we did that, and we did the
It's for 1
Got your
week.
certificate.
It was for one week. So we did 7 days. We learned how to put soil cubes together.
No, that's the incubator. That was
Oh.
the first one was the incubator, and then the second one was the internship.
Okay.
So we did both of those. That was the 7 day one was the incubator.
Yeah, prior to that, all of our training was just experience and natural.
It's like in your blood. You got it
in the blood.
all that.
Everything we did was there. We didn't.
And we all have green thumbs.
No official. We still don't really have any official training.
Yeah.
We're just doing what we do and know how to do. Just going out to the garden. We sprinkle that with some training that we get, from Springfield Community Gardens. But for the most part, it's just training ourselves and experimenting, figuring out what works. And it's easy.
And now,
for us.
Yeah.
now I've grown a lot of different stuff. Over the
Yeah.
years.
What are some of the things that you like to grow? Do you have any specialty?
I love everything. I attracted to a lot of herbs. I'm starting to go into herbalism, and so I just really like. So I always like with my children. I always have opted to give them some type of herb or come up with some type of concoction that have worked. And I'm just like, this works. I'm not using that medicine in the store because this garlic and this pepper and these things are working for my children at home. Like, it's getting all that phlegm up. And so I would share with my mom what I was doing. She actually had a toothache. And it was really bad. She didn't get no medicine from the doctor. Nothing was working. She was in some pain. I was just like, let me pound up some stuff for you and put it on. You could tell how did it work?
It worked real good. It went from throbbing really bad to just mild until I got to the dentist.
Until she got to. So I was able to put up some stuff to her until she can get herself to the doctor. And I felt
Out of the garden.
Really proud. Really proud of that. So I was like, this is something I want to get into. So I really am turning to specifically work with herbs, and so I can make concoctions and oils and things like that for people to heal themselves. But because our garden, my garden specifically had got shut down for a while because we were trying to transform it. I convinced Miley to transform that garden into a market garden because I started less wanting to be a gardener, more wanting to be a farmer. Like, I was just in me, like, no, this community here needs a farmer. We don't need just gardeners. It's okay to get people together, but they need to be fed, they need to be trained, and I wanted to have a market garden over on the Pacific. So Miley was let's see what happens. So we tried it, and she allowed us to tear everything up. I would say that. So we tore everything up because our beds was kind of falling apart and stuff like that. And one of our leaders at United Community Change, my organization, he really wanted to update. He wanted to get more people to attract to the garden because it just didn't really look good. It was just, kind of broke down and stuff. So he wanted to get painted and stuff. So we come up with a plan to transform the garden because we didn't have any money for new beds and Miley didn't have any funds to put in it. I came up with the idea to let's do no beds. Let's use from the soil because that's how I plant anyway.
Right.
Straight in the soil. No incubator, no none of that. Just seed to soil and the water and Jesus and the rain. so I like that. So we decided, okay, that's easy, that's less expensive. We can come up with that. Well, not a plan. We had to get the soil tested, and the soil tested for lots of metal. And so then we were kind of shut down for a couple of years. And I got real depressed about it. Like, I got real depressed about that garden being shut down for so long. But there was nothing we could do because we don't own the land. Like, we don't own that land. We can't move faster than the organization that it belongs to.
So you could put raised beds back on.
So it was real stressful. They had to go through the process that they had to go through. And, I was just kind of in limbo. So because of that, me and my brother, I was just like, I can't stand for this. Nothing against community gardens are doing what they have to do, but I was just like, I had a vision prior, and that has to keep moving.
Yeah. You need to grow.
So, yes, I need to grow regardless. So I decided to research, and I came up, I found microgreens. And I was just like, wow. I was just like, this is cool. I like this. And I was like, not only that, I can use my own space. Like, I don't have to go back. Because I went and tried to find property. I am in real estate. But the thing is that, people feel like you're a realtor. You should be able to do anything. And that's not true. Like, you still have to have connections, money, resources, all type of connections, network, to get your hands on a property. And I wasn't able to do that for ourselves because we wanted to have our own land, to have my organization own its own land and kind of doing similar things. So I got into microgreens and I called my brother. I was like, "What you think about this?" I was like, "They say you only have to grow it for 12 days. I don't know how true that is, but I'm gonna find out." So I tried it. I got all this stuff. I put it all on a credit card. But it's debt. Hold my breath. We held our breath and we started experimenting with microgreens. And then when we grew our first trays of microgreens, we were just kind of excited, like, whoa. Like, we didn't have to put in as much work. We didn't have to have as much space. It was fun. And it was just like a kind of brought our hope back. Kind of like, oh wow, we can be in the space in a different way. And so we started growing like broccoli, sunflower, red radish, and sweet pea are the main ones that we got to grow. And then, we started tasting them. We was like, I can do this. Now I'm a salad girl. I do salads regardless from the store or from the garden, it don't matter. I can make a salad that is that. I make it for my mom, and she's like, "You didn't make me that salad. It's been 2 years. Why?" I still got a taste,
Right.
But so these microgreens fit right in. They're bold. They're just like the essential oil of gardens. It's just like
concentrated
flavors, and we thought that was amazing. We're just like, whoa, where did that come from in this little microgreen? So I started our business officially. It had always been that I would start a farm, and I had spoken to Miley, how to do that. I was on a plan, with Rachel, who's going to be with us at Smithsonian, helping me to plan a business plan. What are you going to create or what are you going to produce? The only thing is, I didn't have a piece of land. So it was really hard to really imagine So Fresh Farm. It's like, what are we going to do? Because I don't want other people to control how fast I move or what I do on with my business.
Because you'd already got
So, but it was always So Fresh Farms, and once we discovered the microgreens, like, I was just like, okay, we can handle the resources that it takes to actually launch this and actually be something. So we bought So Fresh Farms. I got registered. We started growing those greens. We started getting customers, subscriptions, and we're doing that now. So specializing, we asked about that. So that's one thing we do specialize in right now is microgreens, and it's growing. And we're expanding now. I'm looking for a commercial space, or found a commercial space, and I'm trying to get a small business loan to do that. But that process is kind of a lot more. Even it's like even another obstacle to try to face. Trying to come up with like the ask you for taxes and stuff like that. But I haven't really done that. We're just like selling here and there and. So, but hopefully we can get through the process of getting an SBA loan so we can be a full-blown business.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Never been in the process of trying to get. I see my family, but I don't see a lot of Americans doing gardening. So that's another thing we've been trying to target.
Yeah,
is
and that's
to get more people in the gardens,
right?
Especially Black people.
Yeah.
And that's our mission with United Community Change.
That's our mission.
Is to work with marginalized and low-income individuals and connect them with their land, their homes, and their communities. And that's our mission is to really, and they're part of the marginalized community. We just really want to reach out and get our community eating because we also teach a diversity course, diversity in agriculture course for Springfield Community Gardens to go in depth with Springfield Community Garden interns on what does diversity in agriculture mean, or where is the diversity, equity, inclusion in agriculture and farming and gardening, because there's food archetypes that exist and mainly affect minorities and especially Black Americans a lot, and we're not really being fed local foods. We're being fed sugar, cakes, gas station food, whatever we can get our hands on, and it's just not real food anymore. And it breaks down our culture. Our ability to come together at the table and come up with recipes and things like that. We don't have the things that we use in the stores, like sweet potatoes. My mom loves sweet potato pie. She loves to make. She's the best. Okay. But, even around Christmas time, sweet potatoes is a staple in the Black community.
Right.
And whenever you go out and find it, like, you can't find a nice, good sweet potato that's available to everyone. You have to, once they're gone, they're gone. You have to really look. You got to go 5-6 stores just to get how many you need for your meal. And so one of our, we wanted to grow the crops that actually are eaten by our culture.
That are important.
Yeah.
That are part of your historical
that
make you feel like
just
home,
the simplest
right?
thing. Everybody's busy working, and you go to the store and just never think about where did the food come, how is it made, where you get it from. So that's just a different way of thinking. Because I know for years I didn't went to the store and didn't worry about a carrot, but the carrot out of the garden tastes a whole lot of different than in the store.
I remember the first time I took my mom to my garden over at Pacific. I said, "Mom, you gotta come."
I'm like, I'm not tasting
she
that.
Was just like,
I'm not tasting that.
I'm posing.
Yeah.
Very important. I said, look, just the one. I would never ask you to eat anything else out of the ground, but you have to taste this carrot. So I took it to the water hose, and I turned it on, and I rinsed it off for her, and I just said, here. She said, you want me to? I said, yes. Bugs and all.
Yeah.
Then she bite it, and then what was your reaction?
And it was delicious. Oh my goodness. It was just.
She was excited.
I was very excited.
Oh,
when I'm in the garden, I'm like a kid. I'm like a kid. My grandkids out there, but they're not having more fun than me. It is amazing just being outside in the garden and seeing that carrot come out of there. And
she was like, "Where's the other one? Is that one?"
Yeah.
We started digging them up, and then she hit the potato, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember when I was a kid."
When I was a kid,
and they started popping up like golden eggs. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Just to be able to, we started. We put in for a grant through United Community Change to start our microgreen program in the schools.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I know that. So Springfield Community Gardens has a farm to school program. So they have a garden over there, like at Central and stuff. And so we also, seeing that our obstacle was the farm, just even being able to have access to land where, a lot of minority students are not actually gravitating to those programs, those farms to programs, because they don't feel like they belong. They've not been on a garden. They've not been on a farm as much in these days. They remove themselves with the history that we teach, and the things that we've learned about our history and the reasons why it makes sense. But, we decided to go and try to get a grant for the microgreen program to kind of introduce them back to agriculture so they're not afraid of it. And so that we can expand on letting them know, like, there's a bigger world to agriculture and you're a part of it. Farming doesn't just belong to white people, because that's what a lot of people think. And a lot of people in our classes, they are so amazed by the information that we provide, and they really do think that Black people just don't want to be farmers. Black people just don't want to work and feed themselves. Yeah. But the reality is that we've been pushed out. We've been told over and over again that we don't belong there, and that things have been taken from us, and so that we can't be able to prosper in that way.
And a lot of that history of black farming in the United States,
Right,
it's
gone.
disappeared.
Yes,
We used to have 14.2% black farmers and landowners, and now we're just under 1% in 2023. And it just shows you, how, culture can be kind of wiped away and hidden, and then people can believe things just based on their surroundings, and they wonder, oh, well, for these many years I've never seen black farmers. But that's just because there's a lot of things that keep it suppressed and keep it from uprising. So we're just really a family. Over these years, we've come back to even our own family, like desiring to live in homes together, desiring to just come back together and not live in a city life that history has placed us in, live in the city in this apartment, stay separated, and husbands are always at work, I think farming has really given us that ability to think like, we can do this as a family. Even if we struggle, it's better than not being able to see each other and still not being able to survive depending on other people and other resources other than ourselves. So, now we have created this bond amongst one another through gardening and farming that says like, hey, we have a goal. We want to get back to this simple life that created culture, created love amongst one another, created respect amongst one another, and actually it's going to really truly help our people.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of like healing from
Yeah.
trauma.
There's a lot of trauma healing in farming. It is, and I want everyone to experience that. Whether it's you,
you can't get enough people.
Whether it's just you learning how to, just plant a plant at home and beautifying your own property, or just being able to create a carrot and give the experience to another little child who's never seen them before. Like, we deserve as a culture to have that again, because it's been really
kids should learn small, young, so they can grow up with it.
Right. So they know that it's
their
rights, that it's part of their
as
a human being. Well, Xavier, I wanted to ask you, when she said about that first tray of microgreens, and you had the biggest smile on your face. Like, what did that mean to you? How did that feel?
Well, it was like we had a whole struggle on how we was gonna put the lights together and put them in trays, and how the whole thing went. So once we got that whole process done, it was long. We trying to figure it out. So when we did, and it finally popped up and everything, we was both just like, oh my gosh, look at all of this, And then we tasted it. It tasted way better than I thought it would taste. It was real. It was real.
It ain't grass.
Yeah, it was real juicy and stuff. So I'm like, what? These little things.
It was a lot, I mean, it was a lot of preparation. Obviously I had to hold down like all of the reading and stuff, because Xavier, he deals with kind of anxiety, so just getting, he went through training with Springfield Community Gardens, and he's been through a lot of different experiences in employment where, just his frustration will hold him back, or people will turn him down.
Yeah, they don't know his disabilities that he
has. Of his mental instabilities. And so it's just something so back to why I created United Change, and I say, well, there's nobody else to help you. I'm going to help you, and we're going to help other people like you, because once we see you through, then we have all the tools necessary to help those people who are just like you. And so with the microgreens, we struggle. So we fought, and I was just like, oh, you gotta get this, and this, it's more of a like mentorship, like it's me mentoring him, also leaders, but we're partners. It's like all the things happening in family, all the things happen at the same time, and so I have to encourage him, like, no, we gotta keep going. I can't do this by myself because I did it for you, but this is us. We gotta keep it. And so he would get frustrated with the measurements, and having to deal with I get kind of anxiety from the sheets. What is it called? The no, Excel.
Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets.
Oh, yeah.
The Excel spreadsheets was a hard, like going back and forth. Like, why do I have to type this? Why we can't just do it? And I was like, no, we have to document every single thing that we do, because we have to come back and know exactly what we did to perform.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating.
And that's where his disability comes in. And she push him and make him do it. So
I'm forcing him to kind of level up a little bit, like, you can do this. But
so that comes back to whenever I did the internship and the apprenticeship. So when I was in the apprenticeship, I think I started feeling at the end of it because.
And this is the apprenticeship with Springfield Community Gardens.
Yeah, because of my frustration with it, and then they kept saying I was late for 2 minutes or whatever. So she ended up
2 minutes late.
Yeah, she ended up letting me go from the whole program, and it kind of messed me up.
It messed him up. Like, so he got released from his apprenticeship because of some issues. Like, he was having car issues. He wasn't able to get there on time. He had to depend on other people other than himself to really help him accomplish what he needs to accomplish.
Well, he was with Burrell, and it was with a work. He's supposed to have his work people there with him.
Workforce.
To help him.
I was on a work ticket to work.
But they went
community gardens, but they never really.
Yeah. So the support that he had wasn't showing up for him.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, since the support wasn't showing up for him, then his ability to accomplish a program failed as well.
But he didn't give up on Springfield Community Garden.
He
still
was relieved from his apprenticeship, and that really put a big it really depressed him, and that was another big push, a big huge reason why we had to find. I felt obligated to find something else again for my brother. Like, I cannot leave you in this state. We're not going to be feeling failure about this. We just have to keep, and this is what our people have done all the time, whether opportunities have been taken away from us, or people don't understand why we're unable to accomplish them, or why things are a little bit harder. It's just
because they don't know the obstacles.
They don't understand. They don't
understand. Went to jail guilty by association.
So a lot of people, like for him, people feel like he was being treated differently in a positive way. And honestly, it wasn't, just, allowing him to be 2 minutes late was allowing him to get the ride that he needed to get there. And so a lot of these, people will say, well, if he's not here when I'm here, then there's a problem.
Well, how did you get here then?
Yeah.
You got your own car.
Exactly.
Just drove out of your garage and
so
straight here.
That equity piece is like, some people really don't understand equity.
Yes.
And what that really means to the people that really depend on it in order to survive and get where they need to go. So we was just like, it's okay. We're not going to be down by that. We went through a lot of stress and a lot of conversations, family conversations about that. How do we continue to keep pushing, to what we want? How do we keep being partnered with an organization that we really want to be involved in? How do we keep pushing to be our own standalone United Community Change organization and affect people in a way? And how do we get our family where we need to be, with my brother emotionally and, healing him and getting him back to work? That was, I don't want to overlook that was a hard, hard time to try to stay and figure out, how not to just look at the people that you thought would help you in a different light. But we got through it, and the microgreens really saved him and me. And continuing to press on because
and he still helped me on the west side. He never gave up.
We overcome.
Because I was at the
Fast Night
Creek Farm with Dan Bixby, for 7 months.
For 7 months.
I got to learn a lot.
What did you learn there? What are the most important things you learned?
So I want to be a farmer.
Strawberries.
So that Bixby is a white man, and he's that old school, like you said, that old school white man in the overalls, like literally. But he's the amazing
wonderful.
person.
Oh my God.
Xavier had to meet me. He was kind of shocked, like, who's this girl? But once meeting him, like, he's just so cool down to earth, and I guess him and Xavier have a wonderful relationship, and he's willing to he's open to teach. He's really gravitates to like teaching that next generation about farming and how to get their hands in, because so many people, not only in the Black community, but a lot of local farmers, and this is why Miley's doing what she's doing, have depleted over the years, and why we got in this situation of local farming and trying to recreate that for the entire community and all communities, because like when the white community loses, the Black communities, the Mexican communities, the Native American communities, they're affected times 2, times 3, times 10 more. So if something in the white community is happening, y'all believe everybody else below that
it's happening too.
It already happened.
So it's like, how do we catch up? But like, so after those microgreens, we had hope, I think. And it really sparked a dynamite in us, to keep going. And we were able to sit down and recreate how to partner with a good organization, and also make sure that we stand on the things that we need, and how to make sure that we connect with the people that are like us, and communicate that also. And I think so United Community Change and Springfield Communities have really become stronger in that learning curve, because I won't make like everything is perfect. It's not. There's a lot of growing on both sides, a lot of growing and a lot of understanding and getting to know one another on a much deeper level. And I think gardening really helps you do that. It really does. So we still are community leaders. We still contribute our time, even when we were kind of
fell off.
I almost said, thank you, fell off. I was going to say pissed off.
Fell off.
we never fell off. We kept going. We kept
going.
Leadership,
no matter
but we
what.
were very much pissed off. Like, what are these people doing? We here, but we did not feel like they were here for us at a point. But, now that we were able to individually overcome that and give ourselves hope, we're able to teach them how to work with us, and then we work with them, on that level. So I think that overall, Springfield Community Gardens has been great.
Wonderful.
Being able to even the fact, like, they had this, even though it wasn't there, like it was there for me to find, it was there. They had a leader that was there for him to bump into, to have a bigger opportunity. I mean, they were there for my mom to come in and start learning different things on her own with the different resources that they have. And they just knowing that they exist, it causes us to really be like, well, what else? What are they not doing that we don't know about? We go on to research it, for ourselves, on a different level. So, so I mean, we have discovered that we definitely want to be farmers. Before this, like I said, I have my a real estate license. I'm a cosmetology license. She has her cosmetology license. I was going to college for accounting. But I stopped doing that. Now I'm finishing my degree. I'm like 75% done for marketing. So, I mean, with all of that, still farming is what's fun and what's really mentally, peaceful. And it's just, it's a future for our families that want to really hone in and just focus on ownership and focus on having something and growing your own families, that you can pass something down from, not just renting
a building,
Right.
and then the next generation rents a building, and then they don't know about food, they don't even know about housing, they don't even know about anything. But it's like farming really puts that perspective, like, what do you have?
Right.
And it teaches you, because when I first did that tomato, it was a tomato. But now knowing how to grow that tomato, what that tomato needs, and what it does for your body. So now I'm growing strawberries. He liked the mom grow this. And I said, we're not going to grow that unless you learn about it. You need to know what type of bugs on it. You need what you need for it and all that. So we're doing strawberries, and he learned what he needed to know about that. We do strawberries, watermelons. We got carrots, tomatoes, green peppers. Everything is in Westside Garden. You're going to learn about it before we put it down in the ground.
Except for me, because I don't go by that. I'm definitely experimental.
Well, she's coming over to the west side, so she's going to learn it too.
A lot of the
You want to know what bugs
gross.
is going to come.
I guess I know, like some of those things I know, or I've come to know. Just being
Yeah, well, you know, you have taught us. You have taught us
how to do.
We're learning together.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of bug is that? Well, you need to look it up.
We started doing more training. We purchased. So outside of training, you know, we haven't had any official training yet.
Right.
Like we haven't really gotten. We got a certification through Springfield Community Gardens, which was honorable, but just to say we got the knowledge that we feel like we need, we don't. And it would be not right to say that we do have that training. Xavier, you know, we've been trying to figure out like how, you know, he didn't get to finish that apprenticeship program. We kind of broke it because we felt like that was the thing. Like I would run the business and he would be that farmer, our farmer.
Right.
So now we're still looking for him to go through an official accredited program so that he can feel like he's a farmer. You know, sometimes without certain credibility.
Right.
People just don't respect you. You know, you're still just a hobby person.
Right.
And so, you know, we weren't able to get that through Springfield Community Gardens.
Well, you know, that goes back to his disability.
Right.
They, you have to be online, because that's how I learned a lot of stuff from the workshop.
Okay.
And his thing is that he didn't know how to function to be on the line.
Right.
So they wanted him to have his laptop out, but he couldn't follow that at the time.
Right.
So they didn't know that he didn't know.
Well, so we
that-
purchased some
that
other
slower-
programs
he got a slower
that
pace.
we actually like and that really work with how our teaching style is. And so that's what we've been learning from. We've been I spent like $1,200 on a program that would teach us how to do caterpillar tunnels, how to build those tunnels,
Yeah, I know
how to
they want
start
that.
how to start, you know, our garden as a homestead. We got some training
Who did you get
that
that
teach
through?
us so Freedom Farmers. Yeah, Freedom Farmers, which matches everything we look to do. So Freedom Farmers. I support them. So y'all go out there and look at these programs, because for people who haven't, you know,
But he
they're looking for
had his high school diploma and
We have
some
ADHD,
college,
so
but
it's pretty
he
hard.
does it slower
Yeah.
than others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they would
ADHD,
never know
so
that.
It's hard to stay focused.
Yeah,
I
y'all think
understand.
that he's
My
playing.
daughter has ADHD.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
a real,
Yeah,
And
so
it's
I
a
very different way.
I have ADHD.
She got ADHD.
And so does my
It's a
daughter.
struggle.
And so
Yeah.
just finding things, you know, everything doesn't work for everybody, and every space isn't for everybody. But you can find something. It doesn't mean that you're looking down on that organization or anything. It just means that they don't have the tools already that you
Right.
need in order to be successful in your timeline.
Right.
And so, I mean, you don't want to just sit there and wait until they do.
Until they catch up.
Yeah, no. Like, I'm not the, as you see, we're not the type of people. We
Right.
want to keep pushing
keep
on.
going.
So we just keep finding resources, regardless. Keep in touch and keep being a part of the people that have touched us.
Right.
But then we just keep moving and find more resources and more things that are going to give us what we need. So as far as the training, like we find that Freedom Farmers have been really flexible.
Yeah.
Not only you're going to be able to get on there and talk to people who have went through what you've been through, and a lot of them are not black either, but they are learning on a flexible schedule. They're learning on their different areas of the world. You can talk to them. What did you do? What did you do? Oh, I did this. Okay, great. And they have it in a format that you can leave and come back, and you're not going to get penalized for that.
I feel that pressure that somebody just telling you that if you don't do this,
if you don't do this right now,
then you gotta go.
Like, we can't help you.
Yeah, so that's kind of daunting. Feeling like, oh, I gotta get that paper. Like kind of get that diploma. I gotta get the diploma, and then somebody tell you that you can no longer even try to get that anymore. Like that feeling. It's just not. You can't cover that with any type of experience. You can't say, oh, because I'm a part that I feel like I can be complete. You just feel taken from. Right. And so, but in all, we overcome. So that's always the attitude. Just overcome and continue to press on.
Well, that's such important information about. People talk a lot about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, but really hearing where did things go wrong? What wasn't equitable? What wasn't helpful? Like what steps? Easy steps, right? Often that organizations don't even realize would be helpful to make more people be able to access the knowledge and be able to complete programs.
And so with Miley and I have talked down, we have sat down, even through the rift, and we've been able to accomplish, figuring out where things have gone wrong and getting on the same page. It's hard to do in the nonprofit world because people are really competitive, and I guess what people miss is that we're just not farmers. I'm actually running a whole organization as well, and so and also an organization that's also within almost the same category as Miley with Springfield Community Gardens, and we're partnering, and so some other people, out there, their way of doing things are more competitive, looking for grants, everybody looking for the same grant. You don't want that to happen. You gotta learn how to trust each other. You have to learn how to trust and understand like what is the other person's intent with you, and especially like us as Black people, a lot of people want to take you in as a Black person so that they can get the grants that are meant for Black people. And we had challenged with that, in different spectrums, that they just want to use you but not give back to you.
Yeah, I've had a lot of different jobs like that. They just take it from me. They're having work and take from me.
Instead of figuring out how can this actually
Let's
benefit you?
Together.
What do you
Let's
need?
Do it together.
And on the other side, and on the flip side, there's organizations like Miley who want to help, who may not have all the information that she needs, but she's willing, to do that, and she's willing to do the research like we're doing right now to try to fix that problem. And so we've overcome, like I said, we're doing the diversity classes, to teach, the interns, what our experience was, and what the history was that got us to this place. I think it's a beautiful thing, that growth. You can, everything is not always happy, but it's the growth that really, in the end, creates the environment that we want our community to be. Because if not for me and Miley going through those struggles, then we would not have the knowledge to know where we need to go forward, how we need to move forward.
And I have a question. So what would you think today is?
Today?
Mm-hmm.
What do I think today is? It's
this
Juneteenth.
Holiday. Yeah. So what is Juneteenth?
Juneteenth is when finally the last slaves were officially freed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they just think it's just the Black people.
Yeah.
But I think this day is for everybody.
It's for everybody.
Yeah, this day, we promote that this day is for everyone.
When we took a step finally to stop doing things so wrong.
Yeah, it's the first time the whole nation had decided to just allow everyone to be human. Before Juneteenth, we were 1/4 of human. 1/4, not even a quarter.
Right.
You can pay 50 cents for a Black body.
Yeah.
We had no value. And so, you know, the fact that we couldn't get free on our own.
Yeah.
You know, it took a lot of other people,
And a lot of people got
abolitionists,
free.
movements, and a lot of other races. A lot of other races were a part of that as well.
Yeah.
You know, some
Native
people,
Americans.
Native
Yes.
Americans were a part of that. Native Americans actually owned slaves. People,
Even white people, because
you
they
know,
hid the slaves.
Yeah,
So they had to be free from that too.
for sure.
So
A
yeah,
lot.
so as a entire community of owning slaves, whether you were Native American, white people owning slaves, black people
Black
owned
people
some
own
slaves,
slaves.
you know, or if you were the slave as a again Native
Yeah.
American, black person, Asian. Okay,
Mexican.
let's not forget that we had a lot of Asian people that were out here that people just don't, you know, like they got wiped out
Yeah.
Jews.
for a while.
Jewish people, yeah.
But
Yes.
they still existed and just
Yeah.
at a very low profile. So, but as a nation, you
We
know, we were
decided
able
people
to
were
decide that,
worth it in themselves,
It's
not just
worth
as
it.
value for other
yeah.
people. Like,
And it's not like that. Juneteenth, it was the last time, you know, because after the Juneteenth, then those that could not let go decided to instill the Jim Crow laws and oppress us to why we are 1% farmers now,
Yes.
you know, in the nation. But still, Juneteenth represents everyone in our nation who decided that enough was enough and we need to give opportunity to all of us. You know, if your family, you know, some of your family as white Caucasians, you were hiding black slaves in order for them to be free. They were oppressed as well in that situation because they couldn't be truly who they were. They could not feel like, you know, that they were free because they were holding secrets.
right?
It's just a big thing to be able to celebrate that we can all breathe at the same time.
In the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much more
Wonderful.
work still to be done.
A lot of work still to be done
lot of work.
because, you know, a lot of people are still holding tight to what life used to
Absent-minded.
be, you know, or they're holding on that. And they don't realize, some people don't realize that these things were not but years ago, you know.
Yes.
There are still people who were in slavery who are still alive today.
Yes.
Literally. And people feel like it's history. No, it's not. It's his story, but it's not history. You know, it's not gone and done. And still, these things still thrive today, and we still got a lot to do. But we need to celebrate and non-politically and just embrace the things that we've been able to accomplish together and the place that we've been able to come to today.
Yeah.
So Juneteenth
Because we
is for
didn't
everyone.
accomplish a lot, even being discriminated against when my kids was little.
Yeah.
Right past it.
So one thing I wanted to ask was how. So your family was originally from the Boot Heel. You were in St. Louis.
Yeah, I was
How did
born.
you end up in Springfield, Missouri?
My mom.
Over here.
My
Okay.
mom moved here, and my kids
Okay.
was, I think,
I was
And her cousin Cody.
yeah, no, they were 3 and 4, and you were 7. And so my cousin moved my mom here, and so me and my husband came to visit my mother, and we liked it. When we got here, Springfield was just so clean, and it was so nice. We had never seen that living in the city. So we decided we wanted to raise our kids here, and it was just like a culture shock. It was a culture shock. You didn't see black people for days. It's like, oh my goodness. And then you see a lot of mixed kids here. So,
I moved here from Youngstown, Ohio.
okay,
And I
so,
was like, why is everybody white? What is happening
yeah,
to this
see,
place?
You know
So
what?
you've
It's-
seen it.
You know
Yes,
what? We
yes.
heard a lot. You know, it's so weird because
Right.
Springfield was so white back then. But as a kid, I was always hearing, it's so many white people. But where are all the white and black males coming from? There was so many biracial
yes.
community. You know, it was white female and black male relationships. But you would see that a lot, and people were confused because there was so many white people. It's like, how did that happen? You know, it's kind of cool, you know, to reflect back on.
But even though that I was raised in the city, I was always around black and white, being in the city. So I guess that helped me being here, because it was kind of different when I moved here. My kids, when they were young, well, my best friend was white, and she was getting married, and I needed to move. so she talked to her rent lady. The lady had never met me. She asked me, she said, are you a wetback? At the time, I didn't know what a wetback was. I just said no. And so she told me to transfer my utilities to her house, and I did, and to meet her there. I did. Well, all three of my kids, it was a 3-bedroom. They had picked their rooms out, and we were standing. I said, here she comes, she comes. So they all standing there, and we waiting on her to come. She got out the car. She came through the door. She seen we were black. And she said, oh, no, this house is not fit. I said, well, I just talked to you. You told me to transfer my utilities, and I did. She said, no, you brownies, the color of your skin. She said, no, you brownies cannot stay in my house. You niggas need to go on the other side of town with your own kind. I'm not having no brownies stay in my house. And I'm looking like, brownies. And I had all three of my kids there. They were happy that they were finna move. I just took a deep breath, and then I gave her her keys back. I actually said her name, but I gave her her keys back and told her to have a nice day. Got my kids, and we got in the car and went around the corner, parked and bawled, you know, and just fell out crying.
Yeah.
And people was like, why you didn't hit her? Reason why, I was young at the time. I think I was just like 22. I'm 55 now. Is because, well, if you look around here, she had to be raised like that. Right. She was an older woman, and what came out of me, I felt, I mean, it hurted me to the core, and with my kids, you know, to even have this happen. But I felt more sorry for her because she was raised like that, you know. Yeah. So,
but you know,
it was an experience that I never want to experience ever again.
I've done some interviews over the West Side Springfield, because West Side Springfield is a little different. People don't realize that even though Springfield is small, it definitely has its pockets. And I think the West and East Side Springfields are really different. I did some interviews with some elders. They're all over 86. It was like 12 of them. I went to a meeting. All great people. But I got to sit down with them and ask them about being raised in Springfield, and especially during that time, those particular years. Yeah. And they were just like, your mom, what? Because she, her document on her house that she bought actually says that does not allow niggers.
Oh, my abstract. Yeah,
her abstract.
It tells you that.
It says that.
It does not allow it.
Yeah,
yes.
Not allowed. So she's like a part of history.
That needs to be in something.
It's like really a part of history that we were there.
We were the
first. You know, that neighborhood. And so we dealt with a lot, but they also were telling me, like, yeah, over here, there used to be a black librarian, I forgot her name, librarian, the first black librarian in Springfield, and the white Caucasian citizens didn't want her to be there. They wouldn't send the kids to the library. But the reason why, because when they were young, they said it was because that if they touched her, they would get a disease. Okay. That was what they thought. That if they touched her, or that she was made of peanut butter, or she tasted like something. So there was the stories that I got, and this is just the mindset of, you know, Springfield long ago, and that wasn't too long. Like, those people are still living.
This is not ancient history.
Yeah, and they get so certain.
So that was 1997 that happened to me.
Get those documented, the stories.
So what they wanted to do, they begged me not to put it on the news, and I didn't. I didn't do any of that, you know. They was talking about the Ku Klux Klan and all that. I didn't
and you were
do
young.
any of that, and I was young.
Yeah.
I got my I got my own house, 2 streets from where she did that to me, and I've been living there now for 28 years. Yeah. In that same house.
Yeah, it's a lot been going on. Like so
we got healing hearts for a lot of things.
Yeah, like
you know?
healing is a lot. Yeah, like we had we had the KKK over there by us. It was a house down the street. They would burn their flags right around our house. They broke into my dad's car. Yeah. They would throw snow at us.
White balloon balls.
From school. There was one time my dog Biggie, my dad didn't like my dog being in the house, and he had him outside. I wanted him in the house all the time, but he was barking one night. And my dad wouldn't go check on him because he didn't really care about dogs. So I went because that was my baby. So I went. It was very dark, and my dad was like, "You don't need to go out there. Leave that dog alone. He's fine." Well, I was like, he's barking. So I went outside, and when I went outside towards the dog, I stepped out of my mom's room goes into the backyard. So I stepped out of the backside of my mom's door, and when I looked to the right, there was a pickup truck with two men inside, and then one on the back with a rifle, and he was pointing it at my dog. But then he started pointing at me, and I ran to the house to tell my father. But by the time that they came out, they were leaving, and I would never forget that. I will never forget that. That was really scary. And at that point, my dad told me, "No, you have to bring my dog inside. Because these people want to hurt us or they want to keep terrorizing us." But that's a true story.
With their hair, the color of their hair, balls in their heads. And
yeah, they were
I deal with all that.
Like at school, over at Sharon, we were the only black family in the whole school at that time. Yeah, so we moved.
They wouldn't
around.
let them go to the activities.
I couldn't be on the basketball team.
He couldn't be on the basketball team. He needed to go where it was other black kids and stuff. So we pressed through a lot. So being in the garden just kind of release. It's really healing for our whole family.
So ways for us to really bond with Earth and each other spiritually, and connect mentally, and then also just be in the communities to invite other people to be around us and get to know us more than just what they see. Because it's so much more to us than
not only us. I know other people.
Other people are the same. Even getting to
White,
know
black, Mexican.
Caucasians that have been through some things. It's just like, share what you got going on. Share what you've been taught so we can unteach you. So because in some ways it's unfair. It's unfair. Like the things that we teach and the internships with Springfield Community Gardens and the feedback that we get. And the lack of knowledge that they've had, even about themselves, or why, there's always that comment, well, we didn't enslave you, so why are we being penalized, or why are you talking to me? Well, once we start talking and teaching, then they really get the whole story, and it's like, we just need those spaces, like the gardens or the farms, where people can come together and just really be free to talk and speak, so
I think it's really cool that you both went through the internship program and now you're teaching
part of it.
program.
It's a wonderful opportunity that Marnie has set up for us, and we would do it time and time again. I love doing that class. So
sounds like you could teach that class.
I
guess you answered all my questions without me even asking.
Well, we read them first, though.
I guess one last thing I want to ask is, what does it mean to you to be black farmers in the Ozarks?
I'll let y'all, because I talk a lot, I'll let y'all start.
It makes me really feel good. It means a lot to me. When I'm out there, and especially get to be a leader in the West Side Garden. And when the people come over, sometimes they try to figure out what you know and what you don't know. So, and some of them have a lot more knowledge, and we put our knowledge together. It means a lot to me just for Springfield Community Garden to even allow me to be a leader in their garden and to learn the things that I do get to learn from the workshops. And for me to have my family and grandkids to come out there and to be able to learn in unity and to meet other people, and I've always raised them a giving heart up in church and to do the right things. So being out there is the right thing, and and it has them in the right space and in the right place, and so even my husband, he's cutting the grass, so it's like we all is right there.
He does lawn care, not just cut grass. He does lawn care business.
So when you get off of work from Diesel Exchange, you change your shoes and it's time to cut. And we get to see each other. We get to be out there, and it makes us feel good to help somebody else, whether they're helping us or not. whether we going through or not, we does not put that out there.
Yeah.
We just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's just being alive still because I almost died at 29.
Yeah.
And being black, it's just good to be able to grow and show my kids that they can just keep pushing harder.
Yeah.
And no matter what their dreams are, they'll succeed eventually. So that's what it means to me.
And connect with your passions that you already had.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. For me, farming is a lot. Farming, I get to see my grandmothers every time.
Yeah, you put your hand in the soil, man. I see the images myself.
Every time. Like every time I do something in the garden, I can see my granny speaking to me. I can see the peach tree that I bit. I can see my children seeing their grandmother doing the same thing. I just love it in the space. But more being a black farmer on a larger scale is just being able to be a champion for my community and teaching them the things that we lost from a history that a lot of people even black people, they don't realize the important.
Yeah.
That, to be able to feed yourself, to be able to own your own land and control your own space, how free that is, and how we don't have to be in this city or in this nation where, that we're told to push every day, give your 40 hours of yourself to somebody else and come home and give nothing to your family and do it all over again. That farming is a way for us to be connected with my family and bring my family together and show other families that you can do this too, that you can own something, you can create something, you can be something, and you can be empowered and important to the community. You can start growing vegetables for someone and now they need you. You don't need them. And that's empowering. So being a farmer to me is like my life goal now. It's like I don't care what obstacles, I have to get there because there are no black farmers in Southwest Missouri that you can go to. There are no resources for us, outside of just farming and just the house. We have black restaurants. Who knows the obstacles that they're going through to even get the food that they need, or them being able to have the produce that they need for the meals that they're trying to create. Even I've been in some spaces, I've traveled, and I went to Africa, and just seeing the experience farming over there compared to here and how detached from our cultures that we are, it's just so eye-opening to me. Wow, no wonder, we feel like we're never catching up because we're just not connected to nature as much. And, for me, connection to nature is connection to God himself. It's just being a part of the ecosystem. And in some ways, we've been detached from the ecosystem. We're always trying to be in our little gerbil trail and find ourselves. And really, it all starts with the land and the things that we put in our bodies. And so farming is very important to me because farming can really change the world, one local place at a time. If we just all get on the same page, we can all do some wonderful things for homelessness. Being able to feed those people, or teaching them people how to feed themselves, or being able to have a place that they can go just to give them nutrition, without them having to beg in a long line. I really want to be able to accomplish that.
You learn how to save money in farming too, and use a lot of different things where you wouldn't think like that. But now, if you use an egg cart, man, my son be like, "Are you gonna save that? Are you get a bucket? Are you gonna save that? We can use that." We doing a lot of that, a lot of stuff that we reuse over and over.
There's a lot of stress and it's a hard work. Don't
Yes.
get me wrong. This gardening and stuff, it's hard, but when you look at the bigger picture of things, you know, they say, what is the price of what you want? So, you know, the things that you're sacrificing in farming are also worth it. You know,
Because what you're
because
creating
what
is
you're
so much
creating,
bigger.
They're so much bigger
and
than
that
what they
simple
see.
life, you know, that no need to stress. You know, I think I can live in 1-bedroom house if I'm a farmer and with my family. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
You gotta
We're
eat,
being
you have
fed,
a roof over our
we
head.
have a roof over our head, and I see my people.
Are you together?
Together.
I have to ask, do you grow peaches now?
I got a peach seed, but I haven't.
He's been trying to get me to
I
do
have
it.
peach seeds.
Yeah,
that I
bananas
kept,
too.
But I
Yeah, and
haven't,
bananas.
we haven't found property yet. So the first thing for us is to own a piece of land.
That's what you're looking for now.
Yeah.
So the next steps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is to own a good piece, not just a small acre, just a good piece of land for our families to start our family farm.
How
So
big
fresh
do
farms.
you want?
I would enjoy 100 acres.
we can start off small.
I would enjoy it, but if you have to ask me what do I want,
Yeah.
I want 100 acres
acres.
because I
Okay.
want my small urban farm, and then I want to be able to go into the forest and give people camping experiences.
Yeah.
Because I love camping, and you know I just love being on land. And then
Like
just
events and
you know throwing
activities.
events and activities. So I just love being able to have something that you know not too many people will get into the space, but
And they
I
cover
would
many adventures.
have however many be able to accommodate people to come and experience everything farming has to offer, or that lifestyle has to offer, so that they will go out and do it themselves on a smaller scale.
You have like a summer camp. Right?
Yeah.
That was
It's
good.
all in the making, but yeah. So, but first, yeah, we have to find our property so that we can plant our plants and have control over those. You know.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
For sharing all of it.
Yeah. Cry, girl, cry.
It's been so hard. I really want to just shut up because you're the professional and it's your guys' space to tell a story. It is so hard to keep my mouth shut so many times.
No.
But I think this is a really cool way to also like honor Juneteenth. The fact that we are your story is going to live forever, like with the Smithsonian, and like that there's a chance to really explain, especially in this community that is so white, and like people just don't have the examples.
Yeah.
People, you know, can say so easily like, oh, if people would just stop complaining about all this stuff, it would be fine. Everyone's fine. I'm not racist. He's not racist. It's like
Nobody
you
wants to
don't
work.
That's
get
just
it.
the surface.
You don't get it. You don't see the discrimination and the ideas that people are just brought up with, and it is still very, very much here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I dealt with that in jobs. So that's why my dad came up with Dynasty Lawn Care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and
That's
that's
where
why
that
I worked
came
Dynasty
from.
Lawn Care in landscape.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So everything we do
Yeah.
is like anytime
It's
as
for
a
a
black
reason.
culture
Yeah.
we create something is because we haven't been able to penetrate other things. We haven't been able to give the opportunity, so we have to give ourselves our own chance.
Yeah.
But then even then, when we're giving ourselves our own chance, you know, people are even able to shut that down.
They
as
shut
well.
that down.
So,
And you ask
but you
yourself,
gotta keep going, you know.
Yeah.
even though you live right and you do right and you do what God asked you to, but that doesn't mean anything. It's still hard. People will keep you, you know, down and don't want you to, you know, put
Or,
their
you
stomach
know,
off
sometimes
and
it's even, you know, in some people's minds, you know, what should not be possible. You know, if it's not possible, then they wanna correct it so that they're not wrong. If that makes sense. Like it's psychological, but it's like in my mind that shouldn't be happening, and so I'm gonna make sure it doesn't happen because I don't want nobody to look at me like I was the one who told them wrong. Like, you have to be wrong because I have to be right.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there like that, you know, and if they see successful people, they will talk it down. They will talk it down and they will tell you and deter you until you align with what they thought.
Exactly.
So, but we're against that all the time, and a lot of different races are against that. Even, you know, and I hate to keep saying Caucasian, but a lot of focus is put on Caucasians, you know, to be the champions. But even Caucasian people are go through that when they're trying to convert themselves into someone who's more accepting.
Yeah.
And, you know, the own people look at them like, why are you trying to change? They feel like it's for the worst. When reality is that once we are diverse in our thinking and then we're flexible, that together we can do anything and better than what we're doing now.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Liz is, and I have so many students who it's so hard for them to go home and talk to their families because their families are stuck, I don't know, 100 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, there's black families too. You know, they have different people who are so trained in slave mentality that they're comfortable there and they don't want to leave it. They don't want to have to do more. They don't. For them, you know, it's like, why we've already done enough. Why penalize me to have to go change them? They need to do it all. Right. They need to just get it. You know, and it's, you know, in some ways that makes sense. In some ways it's not true, you know. So it just it's a lot of moving around, a lot of penetrating people's mindset. Why we have to change together, not just point the finger on you need to do this first. No, we have to move at the same time. Like what I was saying when you were in training. You know, look, if you see me moving, help us out. Yeah. Because if you're not moving when I'm moving, I gotta keep going.
Yes.
I gotta keep going. Yes. And you're gonna get left behind and we're gonna wonder why. Well, why didn't that work out?
Thank you guys for being so generous and personal with this. Yeah. Like, truly thank you very much. You must be very proud.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.